My days in heaven on earth, a three-thirds, the beginning is different, but the ending is the same. I turned off my phone that night and didn't turn it on after work. Walking out of the venue, I heard the sound of a car horn. I turned my head and saw the Lord looking at me from behind the slowly lowering car window. I walked over and the driver opened the car door for me. I crouched down and sat in the dark. The Lord asked, "Why didn't you turn on your phone?" I could only play dumb. Ah, the phone was off. I don't know. Maybe it was out of battery. The Lord sneered. "Rose, sometimes I really want to slap you." Haha, I roughly read the messages. Everyone is a kind person, looking forward to the full moon, but how can there be such a romantic thing in this world? In fact, I knew at the time that he would not care. Who would be sincere to a lady? But I still felt uncomfortable in my heart. Therefore, people in our industry cannot have too many expectations of men, because that kind of expectation is destined to fail. Sorry, friends, let's stop here today. I am tired and don't want to recall it anymore, and I don't want to write it anymore. I wish you happiness. After reading today's post, thank you again for your concern for me. At the same time, I would like to reiterate that the names in the post are just symbols and have nothing to do with our real names, nor with the pseudonyms that Cece and I use in the venue. No matter how dumb I am, I will not put my real name in these symbols. No one is stupid enough to do that, right? So please don't make some associations or guesses, and don't ask me anything. I said that I just want to find a place to talk, so please don't guess the secrets behind these things, otherwise I really can't say it anymore. I can only say that some time ago, something did touch me deeply, so I thought of venting the anger in my heart in a place where I can talk and no one knows me. Again, if you like it, please read it silently. If you don't like it, please ignore it. That's all, I won't say anything else. Some friends are very curious about my academic qualifications. In fact, Lord also asked me about this matter on the night I was beaten. It was also on that night that the relationship between Lord and I underwent some subtle changes. However, if everyone expects us to develop into a story of a prince and Cinderella, then I can only tell you, sorry, you are all wrong. As I said before, this is not a love story from beginning to end. It may have started out a little different, but everything that happened afterwards was no different from what often happens in the place. That night in bed, before Lord did that to me, he looked at my still slightly swollen face and asked me, "Do you want me to avenge you?" I shook my head and said, "No." Why? I don't need to sell myself out for a slap. Besides, it was just a slap. I've forgotten it. I was speaking from the heart. If I had held a grudge for such a small matter, I would have been furious. We ladies are bullied by men every day. If we bully each other, we will have no way out. Besides, who knows if what he said is true or not? If I say I need it and he asks me, "Do you deserve it?" how can I still have the face to do that? The Lord smiled, not in a cold, grim, or mocking way, but in a real way. I was a little surprised at the time. I didn't expect the Lord to look so good when he smiled. His teeth were very white, his eyes were very bright, and his smile was very handsome and beautiful. Of course, he couldn't compare with a star. The Lord seemed to be in a good mood that day, and he actually chatted with me while he was doing things. Don't doubt this. Anyone who has had sex knows that it is normal for men to talk while doing something. He asked, "Did you finish high school?" I said, "I didn't finish college." Lord was a little surprised. "Why haven't you heard about it from people there?" I studied for half a year, and then dropped out. At that time, I thought it was embarrassing for a college student to work as a prostitute, so I never told anyone. Why? Didn't you continue studying? I had no money. I managed to hold on for half a year, but couldn't. Later, a classmate of mine, who was actually a school prostitute, introduced someone to me online. She paid 5,000 yuan a time, and I bought myself for that 5,000 yuan. In the end, I didn't finish my studies, but I got hooked. I clamped my legs around Lord's waist. I hoped he would finish quickly. I didn't want to say anything more. I felt my heart aching, as if it was stepped on and crushed. That has always been a hurdle in my heart, a hurdle that I could never get over. Every time I think of it, I feel so heartbroken that I feel like I'm dying. Every time I think of this, I feel extremely regretful. I resent myself for being young and ignorant, and for being blinded by the prosperity of the big city. Then I imagine countless times, if I had been willing to endure more hardships, what would I be like today? Sometimes I also wonder if I was born in a wealthy family, would I still take this path? But I have no one to blame. I can only blame myself, and I really blame myself. When I just left school, I threw away all my books. I didn't dare to read them. I couldn't read them. I felt sad when I saw them. Every time I passed by a bookstore, I would lower my head and walk quickly. In fact, thinking back, why did I help Cece so much? A big part of the reason was that I didn't want her to end up like me. You may think this is hypocritical, but it's true. When I was in school, I was very ambitious, but after entering the scene, I was plucked out of my skin. I rarely tell people about those things, but I don't know why I told him that day. I don't even know if he would laugh at me after listening to me 1 second and say I was lying, saying I was talking nonsense, and saying that none of us hostesses were real. Laugh if you want. It's better if he doesn't believe me, because I regretted it right after I said it. I felt ashamed. I felt embarrassed. Sometimes I really don't understand those girls who come out to work as prostitutes under the name of college students. College students working as prostitutes? Very glorious? Very proud? Very worth showing off. Not ashamed? But the Lord didn't say or ask anything, nor did he finish the job quickly as I hoped and let me go home. Then he was very gentle, really very gentle, kissing me gently, caressing my body gently. Such gentleness shattered me and made me completely collapse. I heard something breaking, and it was the defense of my heart that I had been strengthening, which was shattered by him. I cried, and cried in his arms. Tenderness is a knife. It peeled off my outer shell piece by piece, exposing my delicate internal organs, which I dare not show to others, because if someone sees me, I will die. The Lord saw me crying. He picked me up, and we hugged each other face to face. I didn't like this position before, it was too deep. But that day I didn't care at all because my heart hurt so much, so much, so much that I couldn't breathe. All other pains were not enough to compete with it, so I didn't care. The Lord thrust it in and out, madly and forcefully, as if he wanted to inject a force into my body and let that force penetrate me. I hugged his neck, tightly, just like I was holding on to my life. I felt like I wanted to fly, but he wouldn't let me fly, dragging my wings to pull me down, leaving me twisting and turning in pain and joy in his arms. I heard him say confusedly in my ear, "Rose, scream, scream for me. I like to hear you scream, I like." After that day, he didn't let me go home. In fact, I was too tired to move. I lay on the bed. What is after the passion? It is emptiness, helpless emptiness. The body is empty, the head is empty, and the heart is empty. The Lord leaned against the bed, lit a cigarette, took a puff, and put it to my lips. I took his cigarette. Actually, I don't smoke. Many people think that prostitutes smoke, drink, stay up late, and can do anything. In fact, it's not like that. Some prostitutes don't smoke to protect their skin, but they can't avoid drinking. I don't smoke because I never learned how to smoke. I always choke.
So it was the same that time.
I choked and coughed as soon as I took a puff. He took the cigarette and laughed at me, saying, "You don't know how to smoke." Then he took a puff, turned my face, and passed it to me. My whole mouth was filled with the smell of cigarettes and him. He bit my earlobe and put his hand around my chest to rub my breasts. I was afraid that he would get hard again, so I quickly held his hand and said, "I can't do it anymore." He opened the drawer at the head of the bed and took out a milky white translucent medicine box. I saw that there was no description on the medicine box, and it contained white pills. What is this? I was alarmed and looked at the medicine box with a little caution. He laughed above my head and said, "Don't be afraid. You won't get addicted after 1 or 2 times, but you may not be used to it at first." He fed the white pill to my mouth, just like handing me the cigarette. If I had 30 seconds to think, I would have refused, but I only thought for 3 seconds and then opened my mouth and took it. He was very satisfied, picked up the water cup on the table, took a pill, drank a sip of water, and then kissed me. The water and the pill slid into my stomach together, and the undrank water flowed out from the corners of our mouths and flowed onto my chest. Soon the effect of the drug came up, but I didn't feel excited or ache. I was sweating all over. My heart was beating very fast, as if it was going to jump out, and I felt a little nauseous, as if the whole world was spinning above my head. I was scared, so scared at that time. I cried and asked him, "What did you give me to eat? I feel so uncomfortable." Lord was also panting heavily, and the breath sprayed on my face was hot and burning. He said incoherently, "Don't be afraid. It will be fine in a while. Rose, I want you to stay with me. You must stay with me." To be honest, now thinking back, I feel really scared. I never knew that people like Lord would have the habit of taking drugs. I am a person with a strong sense of self-protection, and I never touch these things. But my mind was confused at that time, and I kept repeating the same sentence over and over again. He wants me to stay with him. He wants me to stay with him. When I heard that sentence, I suddenly felt that nothing mattered. It's not because of money, nor because I'm afraid of him, but because he gave me some comfort when I was most sad. He asked me to accompany him, so I will accompany him. My thoughts at that time were so simple. Now thinking about it, I was so foolish to give myself to a man so easily. I felt bad for a while, but it didn't last long. Slowly, I felt like I was flying. Really, I didn't think about anything, didn't care about anything, didn't care about anything. It was like sitting on the clouds, with colorful clouds in front of me. The Lord held me tightly, and we seemed to be riding on a mad horse. The whole world was crazy and abnormal. We made love crazily without restraint. I don't know if it was because of the drugs or what, but I felt it almost as soon as he came in. We climaxed countless times that night, as if we had done everything we wanted to do in this life. We talked nonsense together and said a lot of unpleasant things, but I didn't feel ashamed or insulted at all. I must admit that what happened that night had a great impact on me. It is said that whores are heartless and actors are disloyal. But we are also human beings, not machines. I can't pretend that nothing happened after experiencing such a night. But after that night, Lord never contacted me again. Later I found out that he had gone out of town. Of course, he didn't tell me in person, he didn't have the time. I heard it from someone else. I called Cece, and it was Nan who answered the phone. He told me that he and Cece were traveling abroad, and that Cece was doing well recently and no longer had any crazy thoughts, so I should not worry about her. They all left, and they were all doing well, leaving me alone, and I suddenly felt lonely. The sandstorm in Beijing in spring is particularly severe. The wind and sandstorms all over the city, and the sky is always gray. During that time, I ate as usual, went to work as usual, and sorted out my emotions bit by bit. Every day when I woke up and put on makeup in front of the mirror, I would tell myself that I should be content and be content. Don't ask for things that don't belong to you, don't be greedy, and don't want everything. You have to remember who he is and who you are. When the sun rises, it will be gone, and no one will take it.
Seriously.
I repeated these words in my heart several times every day, and I felt that I seemed to be calmer. But I still dream about him kissing me, dream about him talking to me, dream about myself making love with him, dream about him saying to me, "Rose, Every time I wake up from the dream, I see that the room is empty and the pillow is wet. I got up from the bed and looked at myself in the mirror. Suddenly I saw in my own eyes what I had seen in Cece's eyes: sadness. I didn't understand it at the time, but I understand it now. Now that I think about it, I never asked Cece whether she loved Nan or not. I never asked her until the day she died, but it didn't seem to matter anymore. In May, a big thing happened in the venue. I believe everyone knows this. We were ordered to close for 6 months. It was said that a new high-level official took office, so he closed down 4 top nightclubs in Beijing in a row, which was regarded as killing the chicken to scare the monkey. We were not worried at all. When they came to investigate, we were not panicked, because we all knew that they could not find anything valuable and could not catch us. To put it bluntly, where were they when we really needed them? Why are they pretending to be so powerful now? Mommy asked us to stay home and told us to let her know if there was any news.
Some
Sisters planned to go on a trip, just like a long vacation, and asked me if I would go. I said no, I was too lazy to move. I just wanted to stay at home. They laughed at me and asked if I had a man hidden at home, so I didn't want to go out. That made my heart tighten. I had an indescribable feeling, a feeling of confusion and grievance. Now thinking back, that period was really free. I used to sleep during the day and work at night, waiting for the Lord's call at any time. When he called, I had to pack myself up and feed myself to his mouth like a fast food delivery. At that time, I didn't have to go to work. The Lord was gone. I was relaxed and I began to learn to be empty. During the day, I wandered around Shidon and Xiushui alone, looking at those young and pretty girls with not much money in their pockets. The more I looked, the more envious I became. After seeing enough of the hustle and bustle of the city, at night I would go to the bars in Sanlitun, looking for some clean and quiet bars without so much clutter, which was quite
suitable for me at that time.
Sometimes I sit alone in a bar, looking at the intimate couples around me. Every time at that time, I feel particularly lonely. Occasionally, there are single men who come to chat with me and buy me a drink, and I am very happy because at least it proves that I am not bad looking. But basically, there is no follow-up. For 119, I really don't like it. Because I know that no one can give me the passion and shock that man once gave me. I once heard a sister say that if a woman gets GC from a man, she will never forget him in her whole life. I really don't want this to be true. If it is true, it would be too horrible. How many lifetimes will it take me to forget him? I'm sorry, everyone. I don't want to say more today. Thinking back to Cece's funeral, it was my first time attending a funeral. I don't know how many of you have attended funerals and whose funerals you attended, but I think some people's funerals should be grand, right? Relatives and friends, bustling about, crying bitterly. But Cece's funeral was very lonely, really lonely, so lonely that it made people want to cry.
I don't want to say how sad I am.
The person is gone and there is no point in saying anything. The police confirmed that Cece had indeed committed suicide. Nan began to arrange her funeral and omitted all the trivial matters. I followed him all the time, and I saw that Nan was really sad, haggard, and his eyes were dull. This sadness didn't seem to be fake. But for some reason, I always felt like the cat was crying over the rat when I saw his sadness. It might be because I subjectively believed that Nan was mainly responsible for Cece's death. No relatives attended from beginning to end. I didn't know who was in Cece's hometown and how to contact them. I asked Nan at the time, and he said he didn't know, and even if he knew, there was no need for them to come. If they didn't care about her when she was alive, why would they come to join in the fun after she died? Anyway, Cece's ashes will stay in Beijing, and he will find a good cemetery for her so I don't have to worry about it. My mind was confused at the time. I admitted that what he said was true, but from another perspective, I felt that he just didn't want to cause trouble for himself. Cece's funeral was very simple. As I said before, it was so quiet that it made people want to cry. Apart from the staff of the funeral home, there were only a few people who attended. They were all her former classmates, ordinary people like me who had no skills and were honest. Nan did not attend. I don't know if he was too sad or afraid of bringing adverse effects to himself. I am afraid the latter is more of a factor. I still remember the scene to this day. Cece was lying in the middle of the morning hall. She was still so beautiful, as if she was asleep. Until that moment, I still couldn't believe that she was really dead. How can a person die just like that? Is it too fast? After everyone had seen her body, they left. I asked the staff if they could wait a little longer before cremating her. She was my best friend. Let me talk to her for a few words. They said yes, but not for too long. I said, okay, a few minutes will be enough. They said, go ahead and talk. We'll come back later. After that, they left and Cece and I were the only ones left in the funeral hall. I looked at her beautiful and quiet face, and only then did my tears flow. A few minutes later, they came back and asked me, are you done? I said, I'm done. You can send her off. In fact, I didn't say a word at that time. I don't need to worry about other things. Someone will take care of them. I walked out of the morning hall and looked up at the Beijing sky. I remember that the sky was very blue that day, without any clouds. I lowered my head and vaguely saw a person standing in front of me. My eyes were full of tears. He walked closer and closer, and his appearance gradually became clear in my hazy tears. I really couldn't believe it until he hugged me and my tears rubbed against his suit. Then I knew that this was not a dream. He pulled me and stuffed me into his car. I stupidly asked him, why are you here? Lord asked the driver to hand me a tissue. I heard from Nan that I just got off the plane and called you. He answered the phone and said you were here. I remembered that I had not answered or made any calls since Cece died. It turned out that I had left my phone with him. What a mess I was in. He took out my phone from his pocket, put it in my hand, and said, I got your phone back. Remember to bring it with you next time you go out. Aren't you deliberately making people worry about you? My tears flowed again.
He was very gentle that day.
I guess he saw that I was crying so hard. While wiping my tears, he asked, I haven't seen you for 2 months. Do you miss me? I sobbed and nodded honestly. I thought about it. The Lord was very happy. He smiled and touched my face and said, are you hungry? Let's find a place to eat. What do you want to eat? I shook my head. I'm not hungry, just a little tired. I want to go home. The Lord seemed a little unhappy because I felt that his voice was a little hard. He asked me, where is your home? I gave an address. The Lord asked, a little puzzled, where do you live? I said, that house was bought by Nan for Cece. She left it to me before she died.
Nan
said that since it was Cece's last wish, he had no objection. I returned the house I rented before and live there now. The Lord said, then don't go back. Aren't you afraid to live in a house where someone just died? After a few days, after the transfer procedures are completed, I will find someone to help you sell it. He still had that commanding tone, the Lord's tone, unquestionable and high-handed. I didn't say anything else, leaned on his shoulder, and slowly closed my eyes. I felt very tired, like a person who has traveled a long distance, but can never reach the end, and I can't find the place where I should stay. I always thought I was strong. I had survived all these years by myself. I took care of myself and could survive without anyone. But when I saw Lord, when he hugged me and let me cry in his arms, the pain seemed to take a long time to hit my heart. I felt like I was dying of pain. It was not until that moment that I realized how weak and hypocritical I was. Cece was dead and was being cremated. She would never come back. I felt like a part of my heart had been hollowed out. But I still don't understand why she chose such a path. Didn't Nan say she was fine? How could she die? After returning to Lord, I was still in a daze. I didn't remember how many days I hadn't eaten properly or slept properly. It was Lord who carried me upstairs and put me on his big bed. I didn't even take off my clothes and fell asleep as soon as I touched the pillow. I don't know how long I slept until Lord pushed me awake and asked me to go downstairs to eat. I remember that when we went downstairs, He kept holding my hand, as if he was afraid that I would roll down the stairs. To be honest, I was really moved at that moment. From the funeral home to his villa, I was always moved, and this feeling almost made me change my original decision to leave and surrender. There were a lot of food on the table, sashimi, grilled shrimp, and I can't remember the others, but I remember that they looked very good together. I just felt hungry at this moment. While eating, Lord said to me, "Eat more. When I saw you at the funeral home, I was really worried that you would faint." I was chewing something at the time, so it would have been fine if he hadn't said anything. As soon as he said that, I wanted to cry again. I swallowed what was in my mouth and said to him, "I'm fine. I just have a knot in my heart that I can't untie. I just don't understand why she has to go down this path." The Lord said, "Maybe something happened to her that you don't know about. I heard that when Nan was abroad, she liked to attend some private clubs and developed a lot of bad habits." The Lord didn't say anything else at the time, probably because he saw my face.
Change.
I was really surprised at that time. I had heard people say that some rich people like to have sex salons, which are usually private places. They are quite lewd and even have partner swapping games. Did Nan take Cece to that kind of place? My heart was beating hard. Lord looked at me. His eyes were a little heavy. "I'm just guessing. Whether it's true or not, don't talk nonsense when you go out." Who can I tell? Besides, what's the point of telling it? I suddenly remembered what Cece said to me in the hospital. She said that she thought he was good to her, but later she found out that it was not the case at all. If my guess is true, then I think I know why she had to die. But her death was too unjust. Lord saw that I didn't say anything and then continued, "Don't think about it. She's dead. What can you do? When you go back, pack up your things. Don't you think it's unlucky to live in a house where someone has died?" I don't remember what he said later. I felt my head was buzzing. His words deeply hurt me and made me suddenly understand a lot of things. The Lord is the Lord. His concern for me is real, but at this moment, his indifference and impatience towards a life are also real. I looked at the Lord as indifferent face, and I remembered the first time I saw him, and the first time he brought me here. He made me lie naked on the bed, and asked me to open my legs under the bright lights. I looked at the food on the table, and suddenly I lost my appetite. I felt very sad and decadent in my heart, and I couldn't muster up any energy. After dinner, I cleared the table. Lord hugged me and said, "Don't clean up, go upstairs." He picked me up just like the prince hugging Cinderella in the cartoon. I know this is romantic. I am intoxicated by this romance, but I also know that this means nothing and can't explain anything. He is not a prince, and I am not Cinderella. We are bubbles blown out of lust and darkness. When the sun rises, it will disperse. Everything will disperse. That night in bed, Lord asked me, "Do you really miss me?" I told him honestly, "I really miss you. I miss you very much. I miss you very much." Thinking about this, he fucked me hard a few times. I couldn't help but scream and hugged him tightly. Lord told me excitedly, "Rose, I like to hear you scream. When you scream, I get excited all night long." We only did it once that night, and I was panting heavily. The sadness of the past few days and the messy life consumed my physical strength and made it impossible for me to cooperate with him. Lord is a very impatient person. In the past, if I couldn't feed him enough, he would get angry with me and have a bad temper. But that night, he was surprisingly considerate. After we finished, he hugged me and suddenly said to me, "Rose, actually, I really missed you. You don't have to be afraid. I don't have those messy bad habits, and I don't like that kind of place." I suddenly understood something, and I asked him, "Didn't you say that you don't keep a mistress?" He rubbed my breasts and said, "But I want to now. Rose, I don't care what you did in the past, but from now on, you can only sleep with me, and I will never let others sleep with you. You understand what I said?" I said, I seldom perform, and you are my fourth customer." He laughed. "I know, I knew it the first time. Your skills are terrible. Then why do you keep looking for me?" The Lord hugged me and kept laughing, saying, "At first I thought you were funny. You were obviously annoyed with me. But you didn't dare not serve me. Women in the circle like to pretend to be smart, pretend to have personality, pretend to be noble, and they all treat men as fools. They think that they can reach into men's pockets by using some cleverness and doing some tricks. They are all total idiot. But I found that you are different from them. You also pretend, but you're.
Pretending is not disgusting.
You also like money, but you are not greedy. You are afraid of me, but you don't rely on me to back yourself up. I always want to peel you apart to see if you are really stupid or better than them in pretending." Then Lord looked at me and concluded in a serious manner, "Later I found out that you are really stupid." I looked up at him. "Are you praising me or scolding me?" Lord laughed again, pinched my face and kissed me, and said, "But after I peeled you apart, I felt it was not fun anymore. Because I saw how sad you were, Rose. You made me feel distressed. If I hadn't left for the past 2 months, I wouldn't know that I would miss you so much." That night, Lord was in a particularly good mood. In the past, whether I talked to him or he talked to me, he always looked very impatient and arrogant. But that day, he was very interested in chatting with me while lying on the bed. We talked about celebrities and models in the fashion circle, the rich boys and girls in the upper class, and the relationships between men and women in the circle. When he talked about those things, he always used a particularly disdainful tone, like an angry young man. Especially when he talked about celebrities, his tone was even more disdainful. He said that some female stars look glamorous, but in fact they are not as clean as prostitutes, and the higher the star, the more this is the case. They usually pretend to be something, but when they meet someone powerful, they take off their clothes faster than anyone else. But what I don't understand is that he also used the same tone when talking about himself. He said that although people outside praise him, he actually knows that they are not praising him but praising his father, and he doesn't know how to scold him behind his back. But he didn't care. He looked down on those people's servile appearance, but he had to know how to use them and his own identity to achieve his own career. Even though it was an era of relying on one's father, his father couldn't protect him all his life, but his career was his own, and he couldn't escape that. I said, "You already have your own business." Lord was happy, turned over and pressed on me and said, "Silly girl, what do you know? I'm not successful enough. I want to be more successful than anyone else." When he came in, I felt a little pain. He was very domineering and strong, which made me feel a kind of power, a strong power of control and possession. He is the kind of person who is addicted to money and power, just like he is addicted to sex. Maybe when everyone thinks of the second generation of officials, they will think of the idiots like, "My dad is LG." In fact, some second-generation officials in Beijing are not like that. They are like Lord, very scheming, arrogant, and domineering in certain occasions, but not idiots, and will not shout, "My dad is LG," all over the street. Actually, now that I think about it, such a man can make women feel excited, but from another perspective, he is still a hateful bastard. I always remember what he said to me that
Night.
although it may not be romantic at all in the eyes of others, to me, it is romantic and very tempting, quite tempting. I seem to be back in that web again. Money, desire, and a life of luxury, they were waving at me, they were tempting me. To be honest, if it weren't for the CC incident, I would have been caught. I shamelessly became someone's mistress, and I kept reminiscing about it foolishly, thinking it was very trendy and romantic. However, CC saved me, both financially and rationally. Her death made me wake up. The next day I woke up and saw Lord putting on his pants. While he was busy with himself, he told me, "There will be a part-time worker to clean up the house in the afternoon. If you have nothing to do during the day, go back and pack up your things and bring them here. If you see anything missing, buy it yourself and put the money in the drawer." I got up, and there was no time to put on clothes. I helped him put on his shirt and tie naked. He put on his suit jacket, hugged my waist, kissed me on the mouth, then lowered his head and bit my RT, pinched it with his hands for a few times before letting go. Remember to buy yourself a nice pair of pajamas. If you send me this every day, I won't be able to leave. He pinched my face and then instructed, if I don't come back at night, you'll sleep alone. Remember to eat. The takeaway meal card is in the drawer. I nodded and said, okay, I remember. I'll wait for you at home. The Lord was very happy. He leaned his face over and said, come on, kiss me. I hugged his neck and kissed him. He touched my hair and said, I'm leaving. Remember to eat. After the Lord left, I went into the bathroom, took a shower, put on my clothes, took some money, and went out. I took a taxi to Shidon, bought cosmetics, pajamas, and a suitcase at Jongyo, and then returned to Cece's villa. I took a few clothes and put them in the suitcase, and left the other things there. I never thought that I would live with Lord for a long time. I knew that sooner or later I would come back here, back to the house that Cece left for me. Although I was reluctant to leave this place, I knew that I could not keep this house. After the transfer procedures were completed, I would find a better agent and sell it as long as the price was reasonable. It was not because I felt it was unlucky, but because I knew what this house meant, not only money, but also dignity and freedom. This is what Cece bought for me with her life. I must cherish it. I know I must leave here. I will leave as soon as the house is sold, go back to my hometown, or find another place to live an honest life. But how can I tell Lord? To be honest, I am a little scared. Just thinking about it makes me scared. I went home and sorted out my things, and then went to the nearby supermarket to buy food. When Lord came back, I was sitting on the sofa in my new pajamas, eating grapes and watching TV. His face was a little red. He took off his coat, sat next to me, and adjusted his tie. Have you eaten dinner? I helped him untie his tie and pointed to a pile of messy snacks on the coffee table. Those are it. He rolled his eyes. Are you trying to tell me that if I don't hire a nanny who can cook for you, you will starve yourself to death? This is Lord. He will turn against me at any time. I didn't dare to provoke him and asked him very obediently, do you want a cup of tea? I just bought it today. Okay, 1 cup. He stretched his arms and leaned against the back of the sofa, rubbing his temples with his hands. I poured him a cup of tea. He took a sip, nodded. Not bad. I sat next to him, serving him tea and rubbing his temples like a little maid. Only then did I realize that being a mistress was not that easy, and it was even more tiring than being in the brothel. At that time, I admired those professional mistresses very much. Really, I admired them very much. What are their nerves made of? The prostitutes have time to take a breath. They work 24 hours a day, looking at the boss's face, and they don't feel tired? It's amazing. Looking back now, my mistress life was not long, but to me it seemed like a very long time. No, it should be said that it was like something from my previous life. It has nothing to do with my previous life and has no connection with my next life. It was a completely independent life. To be honest, the Lord is pretty good to me. Of course, you can't expect him to coax me every day. I guess even a fairy wouldn't be treated that way by him. But I can feel that he cares about me. He has a bad temper, is impatient, and is a jerk. He always gets angry after just a few words. But I can feel that he is very attentive to me. This attentiveness is not material, but he cares about my emotions. To be honest, it is not easy for a person like him. Because he was rich, he could give me a lot of things, but that didn't mean anything. But if he cared whether I was happy or not, it meant that he really cared about me. I was in a bad state during that time. I always had nightmares. I dreamed of Cece, dreamed that she died tragically in bed, dreamed that she was calling me and asking me why I didn't save her, dreamed that I turned into Cece, and then woke up from the dream. The Lord was there at night. He would hug me and tell me not to be afraid. It was just a dream. I hugged his arms and trembled with fear. I hated myself for being like this, but the more he comforted me, the more afraid I became. Sometimes I couldn't sleep at night, and I looked at his face in the dark.
Sometimes I felt
sour and wanted to remember his appearance in my mind, but I told myself that I had to forget him. Because I couldn't sleep well, I had no appetite, and I couldn't remember whether I had eaten anything when he was not around. Later, he hired a nanny to cook for me, and he said impatiently that he had never seen such a woman, and she was too troublesome. Sometimes he came over, wearing another woman's perfume. I helped him undress, took a bath with him, and made love with him. I never asked, but I felt lost and sad. Especially when we were doing that, my heart ached as if it was broken. But I didn't dare to cry, because I couldn't let him know. I learned to be jealous. I began to become greedy. I hope he belongs to me alone. But I know in my heart that he will never be mine, but my body belongs to him. This is unfair, but just like in the past, I have no right to ask him for fairness. I became more and more anxious. I wanted to leave here as soon as possible. The transfer procedures were completed, but the agent told me that because someone had died in the villa, it would be difficult to sell it in a short period of time, and I had to wait until the matter faded before I could sell it. I asked them how long I had to wait. They said at least half a year, and it depends on the situation. I was really desperate after hearing that. Half a year? Will I still be able to breathe after half a year? When I did those things, I did it behind the Lord's back. I thought about telling him my decision. I want to leave him, I have to leave him. But every time I looked at his face, I became very useless and didn't know what to say. But he was a lord who was a little scary. Later, slowly, I don't know if he saw anything, sometimes when he was out, he would call me and ask me where I was. What are you doing? This made me a little nervous, as if I had done something shameful. Later, he hugged me and asked half-jokingly, "Do you have someone else outside? Why have you been so heartless with me recently?" I said, "Yes, you only found out now." He laughed and said, "Is he as good as me? Is he as capable as me?" I turned around, hugged him and said, "He's not as good as you, nor as capable as you, so I dumped him." Lord smiled and said, "Rose, you have to take care of yourself. I want you to stay with me all the time, do you understand?" Lord's tone was very normal at the time, and his words were also very normal, but I always felt that he had something else to say. But on second thought, I felt that I was the one who was guilty. I don't think the Lord really suspected that I had someone outside, but I was worried that he would notice something. His eyes were like X-rays sometimes. They were damn perceptive. If that was the case, I might as well take the initiative to confess. But just when I was hesitating, wanting to say something but not daring to, a disaster suddenly hit me and almost made me die. It was already August, and the sauna weather in Beijing was really unbearable. I wished I could stay in the villa every day and enjoy the air conditioning. Lord didn't like the weather and wanted to take me out to escape the heat. I said yes. He said he wanted to go abroad, and I said yes. He said Bali was nice with good air, beautiful scenery, and lots of beautiful women, and I said yes. In short, whatever he said during that time, I said yes. He wanted me to stay with him forever. I don't know how long this always will last, but I know I can't wait any longer. I can't wait until he gets tired of me and kicks me in the ass and tells me to get out before I leave him. That would be too late. But during the time we were together, I really wanted to make him happy. My plan at the time was to confront him after we came back from our trip. But I didn't expect that the time would come earlier. What happened next was a not-so-happy memory. There was no blood and rain, but it was almost the same for me. Friends, don't blame me for being hypocritical. Let's stop here today. I'm afraid that everyone will say that I'm keeping you in suspense, so I explained why the Lord and I had a falling out. I believe you have guessed it. It was because I sold the house, which I never told
him. We had a big fight at that time.
As for what happened, we will talk about it tomorrow.
I
have talked a lot today. I am tired, and I believe you are tired of reading it. Dear friends, I wish you a good dream. I will not say much today. Let's get straight to the point. As you expected, Today is the last time I will tell you this story. In a while, I will leave this city, find another place to settle down permanently, cut off all previous contacts, and start a new life. I also hope that after reading the story, everyone will forget it, because it is just a story of a woman who once made a mistake and is in the process of self-redemption. I hope my friends will not think the world is too dark because of me. Of course, it is not as beautiful as you and I thought at first. Lord came back very early that day and said he had just opened a Western restaurant with authentic food and wanted to take me to try it. He never hesitated to take me out to eat, no matter how crowded the place was. At first I thought it was strange, so I asked him, "Aren't you afraid that we will be seen by reporters or others and exposed?" Lord sneered. "Who has nothing better to do than stare at you all day? Besides, who dares to expose us? Do you think I am the kind of stupid second-generation rich man who lets them write about me? Don't reporters have leaders? Do you really think they are the uncrowned kings?" This sentence made me speechless. I had just come back from outside and was sweating all over. I told him that I would take a shower before going out. He was a little impatient and asked me to hurry
Up.
I didn't take a long shower that day. I just made some bubbles and rinsed, but when I came out wrapped in a bath towel, I saw Lord holding my phone, sitting on the sofa in the bedroom, looking at me coldly. My heart skipped a beat, but I forced a smile on my face. "Didn't you say you were waiting downstairs? Why are you here?" Lord threw my phone on the bed and said, "The real estate agent just called you." And I answered the phone. "What's going on? Tell me." I knew it was over at that time. This matter had to be revealed in this way. I was so unlucky. Actually, I wanted to tell you, but I just didn't find the right opportunity. Lord lit a cigarette and sneered. "Then when do you think is the right time? Wait until you pack your bags and get on the plane, then call me and say goodbye." "Rose, have I been pampering you too much recently, and you don't even know who the hell you are?" He walked over, grabbed my hair, dragged my head to the bed, and sat opposite me. "Come on, let's talk now. I see you've been struggling for a long time. Now tell me, what the hell do you want to do?" I felt a little trembling because his expression was so scary, which made me feel dangerous. To be honest, this is his house, his place, his territory, and he is the boss. I am an outsider with no relatives or friends. Even if he kills me, I will have nowhere to cry even if I become a ghost. But I had to say it, I couldn't hide it any longer, so I said, "I want to sell the house and leave here." The Lord reached out and slapped me, then looked at me very calmly. "I didn't hear you clearly, say it again." I looked at him. I remember this was the second time he hit me, excluding the time when I didn't understand. The first time was in the bathroom. I kicked him hard, which made him angry, and he slapped me back. We were not very familiar with each other at that time, and it was not the first time I was slapped, but those slaps in the past only hit my face, not my heart. But this time, my face didn't hurt much, but my heart hurt. I was suddenly not afraid anymore. I risked it. I looked into his eyes and said, "I want to leave here."
Slap.
The Lord slapped me again, much harder than the last time. "I still didn't hear you clearly, say it again." I said, "I want to leave. I want to leave you. Did you fucking hear me clearly?" I was really crazy at that time. I felt the blood rushing to my head. I was not afraid of anything. I didn't care about anything. The Lord slapped me hard again. This time it was really hard. I fell on the bed. My ears hurt. I was really afraid that he would slap me deaf. What would happen next?
Rape?
Beat me with a belt? Put me in solitary confinement? Don't give me food? All the terrible thoughts came to my mind at once. But Lord didn't do that.
He was more direct.
He rode on me and grabbed my neck.
I
couldn't breathe. I was so scared. Really scared. Only then did I realize how stupid my behavior was. I was too self-satisfied. It would have been nice to say a few soft words to coax him. For that 3-minute passion, he put my life on the line. It was not worth it.
But he didn't want to strangle me.
He just grabbed my neck and said to me fiercely, "They say whores are heartless and actors are disloyal. You really live up to this saying. You are good. Now that you have a little money in your hand, you are confident enough to speak. Let me ask you, is your house insured? Aren't you afraid of being burned down? Aren't you afraid of being robbed and losing everything? If someone cuts your little face a few times at that time, will your money be enough for plastic surgery? I stuck out my tongue because of his pinching. He loosened his hand and pointed at my nose. Listen to me. I can hold you up, but I can also crush you to death, damn it. Think about it. Lord left after saying that, and he took my phone away with him. I coughed for a long time in bed and then I got up little by little. I walked into the bathroom and looked at my face in the mirror. He could only fan me from one side, so I had a yin-yang face. Half of my face was fine, but the other half was swollen terribly, and I could even see fingerprints. I felt a little sweet in my mouth, so I used a cup to rinse my mouth, and what I spit out was all red. I licked it with my tongue, and it turned out that when he slapped me, his teeth hit my cheek. I went back to bed and lay down. At first, my mind was empty, and I couldn't think of anything. In the second half of the night, my mind couldn't stop and kept turning out a lot of things. Honestly, I wasn't worried that Lord would hire someone to disfigure me or rape me.
He
Was a jerk, but not that bad. But I was worried that he would burn down my house, which he could definitely do. I suddenly wanted to make a phone call, although I didn't know who to call. But when I picked up the landline in the bedroom, I found out that he had hung up the phone. The next day, I was half asleep, and the nanny called me to get up for dinner. She told me that several people came to my house and said they were from the security company. A word flashed in my mind: illegal detention. Later I found out that Lord had left because he was out of town for business and didn't say when he would be back. But I didn't know if he was really on a business trip or just didn't want to talk to me and left me at home to reflect on myself. I thought he was a real genius. He confiscated cell phones, cut off phone calls, disconnected internet access, and hired security guards. He did this job very well, like flowing water. While doing bad things, he didn't forget his work. I was convinced. I was completely convinced. After he left, I felt calmer and less anxious. I stayed in his villa every day, never went anywhere, and had those people bring meals to me. I don't know where he hired those so-called security guards from, but they were all very active. The guest room on the first floor of the villa became their studio and lounge, and they took turns to stand guard 24 hours a day. They wore suits and ties every day, looked energetic, and would jump at the slightest sign of trouble, looking very professional. Their leader told me that I could go out if I wanted to, but someone had to follow me and I couldn't leave the villa area. I said, why would I go out? He just smiled at me and didn't say anything, so I couldn't even start a fight. Lord would call me, and he would call the security guard, who would then pass the phone to me. He would ask me some common questions such as, have you eaten? Have you slept? What are you doing? I would answer the same questions such as, have you eaten, slept, or watched TV? His tone was very normal, and my answer was also very normal. Neither of us mentioned what happened that day, as if nothing had happened. Some things are like this: no one talks about it, no one mentions it, and everyone keeps it to themselves. But the problem still exists, and you can't just pretend that nothing happened and solve it. So one time, Lord said on the phone that he would be back in a few days, and asked me if I had made up my mind. I said, I have made up my mind, and I will tell you when you come back. He was gone for more than a month, and when he came back, it was almost autumn. When he came in, the people left. I saw a kind of fatigue on his face, which I had never seen before. I don't know if it was because the business was not going well. I asked him if I needed to run a bath, and he said no, he just wanted to take a shower. As usual, I helped him undress. When he was taking a shower, he said he had run out of bath gel. I handed him a bottle at the door, and he dragged me in along with the bath gel. My nightgown was soaked by water. It was made of silk, and he tore it in two with his hands. I felt a pain in my lower body, and his hard thing pushed in. Lord is actually a very hypocritical person, which I didn't realize at first, but later on. For example, He never talks to me properly and always looks impatient. Another example is that when he came back that day, he didn't say a single word to me seriously but just pressed me to do piston movements. He pressed me against the glass wall, then against the bathroom floor tiles, and then threw me back on the bed. He didn't loosen his grip on me, and I was so tight. I put my arms around his back and said humbly, "Don't be so hard, it hurts." Lord sneered over my head. "You still feel pain? I'll kill you." Only then did I realize that this was a revenge. I didn't say anything else. I hugged his back and thought about how to make myself feel better and make him gentler. But the more I thought about it, the sadder I felt. It was a kind of sadness that came to an end, as if I had seen the end. After that day, he sat at the head of the bed and smoked. His face was still tired. It didn't seem to be physical, maybe it was mental, I couldn't figure it out. I lay on the bed and looked at him. I wanted to say something, but I didn't know where to start. Finally, he blew out a smoke ring and spoke first. "Tell me, what do you think?" I pulled the quilt and sat up, leaning against the head of the bed side by side with him. I felt that only in this way could I have a good talk with him and feel that we were equal. I said to him, "I didn't mean to hide it from you. When I found an agent to sell the house, I really wanted to tell you, but I didn't know." Lord interrupted me impatiently. "Rose, I really don't understand. What are you always doing? Am I not good to you? Have I wronged you? Or do you can't stand it because I abuse you every day? You always make yourself like a bitter cauliflower. Who are you performing for?" I shook my head. "None of that. You've been very good to me. You haven't wronged me or abused me. But I can't stand your kindness more and more. I feel very stressed when I'm with you, and I don't know how long you can be nice to me. Every time you get angry, I'm scared, and I don't know what will happen in the next second. Sometimes I even feel that I'm still in the place, you're still my customer, and I'm still smiling at you." I don't know what happened to me that day. My eloquence became very good, and I said a lot of things, and every sentence was very pretentious. Lord didn't say a word, smoking and listening quietly. The more I talked, the sadder I felt, and tears started to flow. I wiped my tears and continued, "I know what attracts you to me. I don't like you as much as other girls. I also love money, but I won't ask for things that don't belong to me. And I'm particularly afraid of you. All of this makes you feel fun, fresh, and exciting. You may also think that you are a prince, and I am a Cinderella in distress. You are addicted to this game, and you never get tired of it. Frankly speaking, I have been like this too. Everything you give me makes me feel very addicted and exciting, including being in bed with you. But games are games, and there will always be a day when you can't play anymore." I looked at the profile of the Lord. He was still smoking, with no expression on his face. I continued, "You are right. Bitches are heartless. Actors are heartless righteousness. So people like us should not have feelings for men. It's not that we don't want to have feelings, but we are not qualified to have them. You told me that it's better to have a mistress than a dog, but you keep me? Every time you come to do that to me, I wonder, what am I to you? You put me in such a beautiful house, provide me with food and clothes, and you can come and go as you please. I dare not say, dare not ask because I am not qualified. Who am I to you? You keep a mistress, a prostitute who belongs only to you, a woman who lives on your charity. You feel fresh now. That's because you haven't had enough of your addiction, and your prince dream has not yet woken up. But sooner or later you'll wake up, right? So I thought, instead of waiting for you to get tired of me, it's better for me to leave you first. Otherwise, Cece, as today may be my tomorrow. If I die or go crazy, what's the point of you giving me more money?" This long speech exhausted me, as if I had used up all my strength. I hugged my knees like a child. I felt cold and I didn't know what the outcome would be, but I tried my best. Lord twisted his cigarette. His expression was calm, deep and calm. He said to me, "If you Don't know. You would think you are reciting lines so vigorously. Say you are stupid, but you are smarter than anyone else. You are right, this is a game, and all games have to end. But he suddenly grabbed my hair and said to me in a very gloomy voice, when it ends and how it ends, it is up to me to decide, not you, do you understand? I was very useless at the time. I looked at him with tears in my eyes. I understand what he meant. To put it bluntly, he is the Lord, he is the God, he is the Master, he is the one who is qualified to give orders. His status determines that if he is tired of me, he can dump me, but I am not qualified to dump him. This is unfair, but you can't ask for fairness from such a person, especially at that time. He also knew what kind of woman I was. I wasn't so tough that I dared to confront him, even though I knew he was going to get really angry. I could only nod my head in the end. I understand. He patted my face and said to me, "Sleep well today, you'll be busy tomorrow." I will be busy tomorrow? What will I be busy with? I didn't understand what he meant. The Lord ignored me, turned off the light, and lay down. I covered myself with the quilt. My mind was in a mess, but at this moment, Lord hugged me from behind. I thought he wanted to do something, but he didn't do anything, just hugged me in this position. This reminded me of a love movie, but unfortunately I can't remember the name, but I remember that it seemed to be a tragedy. His body was warm, and his chest was broad. He could hug me completely, with just one arm. We hugged each other naked, and his hand was on my chest, not like a caress, but listening. I slowly fell asleep holding his arm. The feeling was very honest and warm. This was the most restless night he and I had ever spent, but also the most peaceful night. The next morning, as soon as I opened my eyes, Lord said to me, "Pack your things and get out." I could hardly believe my ears. I sat up and looked at him stupidly. "What did you say?" I said, "It's over. You take your things and get out as far away as you can." Is that enough? It was so chaotic before, almost a bloodbath, but it ended so simply. He just said get out and it was over. I'm really not used to it. I quickly sat up, put on my clothes in front of him, took out my suitcase and put my clothes, shoes, and cosmetics in it one by one. The things I brought with me were not much, and he didn't give me anything in the past few months I've been with him. Besides, even if he gave me something, I wouldn't dare take it away, right? Just as I was dragging my suitcase to leave, Lord suddenly said, "Rose, do you know when I started wanting to support you?" I was stunned for a moment and shook my head. I don't know. It was that time outside the box when I saw you being beaten. My mind was in a mess at that time, just like I am now. What does this mean? Rose, whether you believe it or not, I really care about you.
That's why I was so angry that day.
Maybe you think it's not good enough, but I can't give you more. I can't marry you, you know that. I was also very unhappy this month. Everyone could see that I was absent-minded, so nothing could be discussed. And I realized at that time that my attention to you seemed too much. Maybe it's just like you said, this is a game, and now it's time to end it. He pointed to the door. "Let's go. Get out of here, and don't let me see you again." Just like that, on a clear morning, I carried my suitcase and took a vigorous step, running towards the freedom I had longed for. I felt like I had gone through a long and arduous battle, and now I got out of it. I returned to the house that Cece left for me, just as I thought.
I
Left a man who I didn't even know whether he loved me and whether I loved him. I don't insist on pursuing the truth, because it's meaningless. During that time, I became a person with nothing to do. Every day, I spent nothing but surfing the internet, shopping, reminiscing, missing, and waiting. Waiting to sell the house, waiting to leave here, waiting to rescue myself from my past life. The Lord never contacted me again, and I never contacted him. During that time, I felt as if I had lost my memory of him. He was like a thing from my previous life. But did he exist in my previous life? In November, the weather was getting colder and colder. I remember the news at that time said that the cold wave was very severe. I stayed in the house every day and didn't want to go out. Suddenly one day, Nan called me and asked me for a photo of Cece, saying that he and Cece had never taken a photo together and wanted to keep one as a souvenir.
I sneered in.
My heart. Don't you have a photo of her? Why, you don't dare to look at it now. I told him that I didn't have one. Nan's tone was very low, and he said a little sadly, Rose, I still don't understand why she did that. She was obviously fine at that time, and she even told me that she wanted to give birth to a child with her last name. How come she suddenly? I was surprised his tone didn't sound like a lie, and he had no reason to lie to me. I suddenly realized that maybe I had misunderstood Nan all along. He didn't take Cece to that secret club? Then why did Cece commit suicide? I said to Nan, either you killed her, or she killed herself because of her despair. No matter what the answer is, she's already dead, and there's nothing we can do. Nan was silent after hearing that, and then she hung up the phone. In December, I received a call from the agent telling me that the sale of the house was going well. Only then did I realize that Cece had been gone for almost half a year. Half a year, more than 180 days, is not a long time, but I felt like a world of change had happened. At that time, I just wanted to leave. I no longer obsessed with the truth of Cece's suicide because it was meaningless. However, when I was alone, I would still think of them, Cece, Nan, and Lord. So I wrote these words, using this way to forget and miss, and it was the only way to forget and miss. I remember when I left Beijing, it was still snowing. I carried my suitcase to the airport alone. When I got off the taxi and entered the terminal, I looked back at the sky of Beijing. The gray sky was really sad. Suddenly, I remembered a crooked poem I heard in the field in the past. The capital is so beautiful that countless beauties bow down. Bow down? That means death, right? Cece died. She stayed here forever. I didn't die, so I was leaving. Surprisingly, before I left, Lord sent me a text message with only a few words. You chose the most favorable time to leave me, so you'd better go far away. Don't come back for the rest of your life. Don't let me see you again for the rest of my life. He told me to get out of here, but why? When I read these words, I always felt that he was asking me to go back, that he was waving at me, that he was very lonely, that he wanted me to stay with him forever and ever. My heart suddenly ached like a knife, and I couldn't breathe. I didn't reply to him at that time because I didn't dare to tell him that when I left, I took something with him, something very important. But I didn't keep it, I took it away when I was in Beijing. I did not keep the child, just like the child's father will never acknowledge his identity. I can't go back to that villa, just like he can't give me a decent identity and a bright future.
The
game is over. It's time to disperse, and we should go our separate ways. But I still remember his smile, the first time he smiled at me. His smile was so real, it made people feel distressed, but it will never happen again. I suddenly remembered that day in the morning hall. I didn't say a word to Cece's still beautiful face. I was so fragile at that time. And now, I want to say to Cece in heaven, Cece, I write these words to commemorate you and our past of mutual support. I left there. I didn't stay in Beijing any longer because your voice is everywhere here. I always hear you calling me, telling me to leave, telling me to let go, telling me not to cling to the past, telling me to find a new life. I never thought about how I should spend the rest of my life. I never thought about why I am alive and whether I am happy. But your death made me sober, made me cherish myself more, and made me find something more important than money. Cece, thinking of this, I suddenly feel that I am no longer sad for you because you got what you wanted, freedom and dignity. And I also want to find what I want, find the meaning of life. Friends, that's it. My story with Cece ends here. I don't want to write anymore, and I can't write anymore. Maybe you think this is a love story. Maybe you think this is a real story. Maybe you think this is a hostess's accusation and criticism of the world. What I want to say is that it is just a story that can happen around you at any time. or maybe it is happening now. If you think it is true, it is true. If you think it is false, it is false. None of this is important to me. What is important is that I have finished speaking. My heart hurts. My tears have fallen on the back of my hand and on the keyboard. Although we are all strangers and you cannot see me, the process of talking is not easy. Many times, I feel like I have been stripped naked and exposed to the public. I am very fortunate that I still have the strength to talk about those past events. And now, after a long and painful memory and journey, I am free. In fact, I had thought about donating part of the money I got from buying CC's villa to the Hope Project or some other charitable organization. It's just that this period of time has been so chaotic that I haven't had time to think about those things. I think I will deal with this matter next. Thank you, friends, for your comfort and encouragement during this time. If I can still feel a little warmth before I say goodbye to my past self, it is because of you. So, at the end of the song, I sincerely wish you happiness, forever happiness.